Shabbat Shalom everyone. Welcome to Science Lab. The signs are happening because Lord Jesus Christ is coming.
Every day we are looking at some of the signs that are happening around us. In this episode, we are going to see the signs in Israel.
Israel's economy is strong and growing stronger. In the last decade, the nation's per capita gross domestic product has grown by 45%, significantly better than most Western nations.
Foreign direct investment in the quarter of 2019 increased by more than 45 billion and is currently at a high record. Israel is a world leader in scientific research, technology, innovation, and development.
Militarily, Israel is stronger than ever. While it isn't the largest military in the Middle East, the Israel Defense Force is technologically superior, more highly trained and better equipped than all the others. This gives Israel tremendous confidence in its military, intelligence and security establishments.
Israel is also confident strategically and geopolitically. Terrorist violence is ever present and the nation remains surrounded by enemies, some of which regularly fire missiles at Israel's towns and cities. But those seeking Israel's destruction are either weakened by political dysfunction. Example, the Palestinian Authority, or relatively ineffectual before Israel's superior strength.
Israel's belief that as long as they remain strong and alert, they will be safe and secure. Given these conditions, it's easy to understand why the Jewish state today is feeling confident and optimistic. Concurrently, it's enjoying a resurgence in its relationship with America. Donald Trump's view of the Jewish state is basically the polar opposite of his predecessor, who practiced an adversarial foreign policy that sought to undermine Israel and embolden its enemies. Since President Trump was inaugurated in January 2017, his basic approach to Israel has been to look at what Barack Obama did, then to do the opposite. America and its president are a major part of Israel's success and is confident and optimistic. At a time when anti-Semitism is mounting globally and Israel is being maligned and isolated, having the support of America's president has been extraordinary and indispensable. Caroline Clegg called Mr. Trump the most pro-Israel president in U.S. history. No other president came close. He has also been called the first Jewish president of the United States. Shmuley Botev, a popular American rabbi, described the sentiment many Jews have toward the Donald Trump in a Jerusalem Post article in April 2019. He wrote, "Hearing the most powerful man on earth acknowledge the rise of Jew hatred all over the globe and his declaration of war against it helped to greatly assuage Jews' feeling of isolation and abandonment." US President Donald Trump told us that we are not in the fight alone. There will be modern Masada. There is no fortress Israel. The most powerful nation on earth is by Israel's side. One can appreciate this man's sense of hope and the general confidence and optimism in Israel today. But how long can the good times last? There are reasons to believe that Israel has too much confidence, too much hope, both in itself and in President Trump. First, do consider what Donald Trump has done for Israel. On May 22, 2017, just 4 months after taking office, Donald Trump became the first sitting U.S. president to visit the Western world, one of the Jews' most revered sites. It was a very public gesture, delivered early in his presidency and deeply unpopular with the international community, and was a clear sign of where America's president stood. Six months later, on December 6, 2017, Mr. Trump again made history by becoming the first U.S. president to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Then on May 14, 2008, the 51st anniversary of the Six-Day War and Jerusalem's unification, America opened its embassy in Jerusalem. And this decision was also deeply unpopular with the international community and within Americans' political establishment. This didn't faze Mr. Trump. America had promised for decades to relocate its embassy to Jerusalem, and he was determined to follow through. Israel was thrilled and grateful. At the embassy opening, Israeli President Reuven Rivlin said, "Finally, we have a leader who promised it and also kept his promise." On March 21, 2019, America's president made another pro-Israel announcement. With one tweet, he overhauled a major America's policy on Israel. After 52 years, it is time for the United States to fully recognize Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights, which is of critical strategic and security importance to the state of Israel and regional stability. A few days later, the White House made it official. Again, this decision ranked politicians in America and in the international community. But that didn't deter Mr. Trump. Israel came first. Since January 2017, within the notoriously anti-Israel United States, the US has robustly defended Israel until she resigns on December 2018. Nikki Haley, handpicked by Donald Trump as America's ambassador to the UN, was an absolute warrior for Israel. She introduced Security Council resolutions condemning Hamas and withdrew US support from UNESCO, UNRWA, and UN Human Rights Council, all favoring Israel. America's president has initiated many other significant changes, including cutting aid to the Palestinian Authority, which, among other corrupt behavior, uses funds to pay family members of terrorists, officially designating Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist entity, and routinely and publicly defending Israel and furthering its interests both domestically and globally. Under President Trump, America has delivered on promises that have been made for decades. Many of the president's actions have been significant, meaningful, and even very historic. Considering all these decisions, it's easy to understand Israel's affection for Mr. Trump and why many Israelis and Jews are so hopeful. There is a certain confidence and comfort that comes from knowing that the leader of the most powerful nation on earth has your back. Add in Israel's economic and military strength, and you can understand the nation's optimism.
But is Israel too confident? Both Israel and America ought to remember the words of wise King Solomon. Pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall. To understand why, we need to examine what Bible prophecy says about the present situation.
So far, we were seeing about the miracles of Israel. After seeing all these things, we definitely need a break. Don't go anywhere, we'll continue after a break. Welcome back to Science Lab. The signs are happening because Lord Jesus Christ is coming. Before the break, we were saying about the miracles of Israel. Let's continue searching the miracles in Israel. The prophecy in Amos 7 identifies Donald Trump as a modern-day type of King Jeroboam II of Israel. King Jeroboam presided over a spectacular renaissance in the kingdom of Israel in the first half of the 8th century BC. Israel attained a level of material prosperity, power, and national security it hadn't experienced since King Solomon.
Today, America and Britain are the modern-day descendants of ancient Israel, and these nations are enjoying an obvious resurgence. Who is ultimately responsible for this resurgence? Verse 27 says that it was God who saved by the hand of Jeroboam. France doesn't keep regular statistics on the number of Jews immigrating.
but figured from 2015 showed that 8,000 left France to Israel. With a large number also leaving the US or Quebec in Canada, the number of Jews in France is falling by about 1% each year. The former president of the Jewish Agency for Israel, Nathan Sharansky, warned that there is no future for Jews in France. Tov Miamon, a senior fellow at the Jewish People Policy Institute who studied migration, said in 2015 he expected 250,000 Jews to move to Israel by 2030. There are currently only an estimated 550,000 Jews in France. This rising tides also manifests itself on the international stage. Between 2009 and September 2018, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization passed 71 resolutions condemning Israel and nearly 2 resolutions against all the other nations in the world combined. In 2018, the UN General Assembly passed 21 resolutions on Israel and just 6 on other countries. The UN Human Rights Council has passed more resolutions against Israel than against all other nations in the world combined. The UN has passed more than 700 resolutions condemning Israel and 0 condemning the terrorist group Hamas. Criticism of Israel is not inherently anti-Semitic, but such obsession is. There is no evidence to suggest that Israel is the most problematic country on the planet, demanding the overwhelming attention of the United Nations. The Jewish state is being singled out because it is a Jewish. That is textbook anti-Semitism. You may think resentment towards Jews is not a major problem. It makes them uncomfortable, but after all, no one is building gas chambers. But what did the world look like before they built the gas chambers? It looked a lot like it does today. Prior to the Holocaust, it was not only acceptable but fashionable to despise Jews. William Manchester wrote in the last line that the martyrdom of Jews in 1940 would strip anti-Semitism in Britain of its respectability. But in the 1930s, it was quite ordinary thing to see restaurants, hotels, clubs, beaches and residential neighborhoods barred to people with what they delicately called dietary requirements. Contempt for Jews was not considered bad form. They were widely regarded as unlovable, alien, loudmouth, flashy people who enriched themselves at the expense of Gentiles. Even former King of England, Edward VIII, visited Hitler in Germany, said he admired the Führer and did not lift a finger to curb the violent acts of anti-Semitism surging in the government and across the country. Manchester wrote, Poland's national character, like Germany's, was marred by a livid streak of anti-Semitism. In Hungary, anti-Semitic laws similar to those in Nazi Germany made persecutions of Jews routine. In France, in the late 1930s, rowdy crowds, alarmed by the prospect of war with Germany and convinced that Jewish warmongers were the root of the problem, protested in towns and suburbs, crying, "Dead to the Jews, red the Jews." In Germany, persecutions of Jews was adopted as government policy nearly a decade before the war began. The 1935 Nuremberg Laws and other legislation institutionalized anti-Semitism and provided the Hitler regime legal cover to begin harassing and oppressing German Jews. These laws led to Kristallnacht, Night of Broken Glass, a terrifying pogrom against Jews carried out in November 1938 by Hitler's parliamentary forces and German citizens. As Russian society fell apart in the late 19th century, waves of pogroms swept through the empire. In the 1880s, Jews were attacked in Kiev, Warsaw, and Odessa. Between 1903 and 1906, thousands of Jews died in a series of attacks that ran alongside to turmoil surrounding 1905 Russian Revolution. These pogroms were a symptom of a terminally sick society, one that finally destroyed itself in 1917. Around that time, some in France blamed the Jews for defeat in Franco-Prussian War. This sparked a rise in anti-Semitism that led to the infamous Dreyfus Affair and a steady undercurrent of French-Jew hatred. For 20,000 years of European history, Jews have been persecuted in good times and bad. But a pattern has emerged. In periods of major social tension and upheaval, Jews became the scapegoat. When the Black Death killed thousands of millions in the 1300s, people blamed the Jews. Hundreds of Jewish communities were attacked. About 1,000 Jews were burned alive in Strasbourg. When King Richard I of England left the fight in the Middle East, anti-Jewish riots broke out across the country. As Pope Innocent III greatly expanded the Crusades, he also persecuted Europe's Jews. His forcing of Jews to wear a special badge and other persecutions are widely seen as a turning point that intensified persecutions against European Jews. As the example of Pope Innocent shows, such persecutions was also usually strongest whenever the Catholic Church was strongest. British journalist Melanie Phillips noted on February 15, 2019, that today's resurgence of these anti-Semitic tropes suggested a terrifying mass loss of reason. When societies and individuals find their identity fragmenting, they turn on the Jewish people as a scapegoat onto which they project their own murderous feelings. Global anti-Semitism is a symptom of global societal unrest. But even these analyses fail to identify the real reason for concern. If anti-Semitism is indeed the canary in the coal mine, we face a deadly poison of global proportions. To understand why, we must understand the unseen fountainhead of this hatred.
For now, Israel has Donald Trump on its side thanks to God's sanction. America's president is a powerful force to be aligned with, but Bible prophecy says Mr. Trump and the resurgence underway in both America and Israel is a temporary phenomenon. Time, geography, global trends, and Bible prophecy are on the side of Israel enemies.
Israel is the timepiece we should watch out for in these last days. By looking at what is happening in and around Israel, we will know that at what time we are in. All this shows that we are living in the crucial hours in the last days. Thank you for watching this episode, and don't forget to tune into the Science Lab next time.
What is foretold in the Bible is happening again in our lifetime. The budding of the fig tree, that is the nation of Israel, shows that we are living in the last days. Lord Jesus Christ is coming back again very soon. Thank you for watching this episode. Don't forget to tune into Science Lab next time.
Now we would like to end the program by asking you a question. Who is the 13th king of the ancient kingdom of Israel? The options are option A, Jehu, option B, Joash, and option C, Jeroboam II.
Send us the right answer to sciencelab@angeltv.org. If you have missed any of the episodes, don't worry, you can watch it again in our Science Lab YouTube page. But don't forget to like, share, and comment on the video.
Ask your friends and relatives to watch the Science Lab so that they will know that we are living in the last days. Remember, signs are happening because Lord Jesus Christ is coming. Maranatha.